Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. It's the spreadsheet again. I got a really great question for somebody, which was, what if you don't have a record for what you originally paid for an item in the past? And there's just a hair of ambiguity in the question, so I'm going to answer it two ways. The ambiguity revolves around whether you have no record yet you remember what you paid, or whether you have no record and you don't remember what you paid. And so, what if you don't have a record for what you originally paid for an item in the past? The first part is please be diligent. You know, if you're using spreadsheets like the ones that I've shown here, make sure every time you buy something, you come and you enter it in on your expenses tab. Don't get lazy about that. Don't think, hey, I'll come back later and I'll do it, because you will forget. And let's say you have some inventory and you need to enter it in here too whenever you acquire something. And every time you sell something, make sure you enter it in on your sales tab, just so you keep your records tight so you don't forget things. But okay, what happens? You don't have a record for what you originally paid for an item in the past. This might happen, let's say somebody's advertising something on Facebook Marketplace and you meet them in a parking lot and you just pay cash. There is no record. The IRS understands this. The IRS understands that lots of transactions happen every day for which there absolutely is no record. If you run a laundromat and you use a lot of old mechanical coin machines, every time somebody feeds $1 into the change machine and gets quarters, there's no record. And every time they stick those quarters in the washer or dryer, there's no record. And so it is up to the proprietor of the business to be honest, report their revenues, report their expenses, and do things honestly. And that's why audits exist. It's for the IRS to come in and say, we just want to take a little more closer look at the detail here and make sure everything that can be known is being reflected honestly in your records and your accounting and your tax filings. So what would you do? Let's say you have no record, so there's no receipt, there's no online invoice, there's nothing like that, but you do remember what you paid. Well, you just come in here and you say, I bought, I don't know, a box of AFR, and it was a draft box. We'll just do that quickly. And you got it on Facebook Marketplace for a really great deal, and you paid $65, and we'll just throw a date on there. And so you write it down. And the interesting thing about how taxes and accounting and the IRS works is now this is real. You wrote it down, so it is real. The transaction is proven. It happened because you wrote it down. And again, for a lot of things that the IRS handles, there are no records. And so don't worry that you don't have some kind of immutable paper trail on the blockchain that will forever prove that this transaction took place. It's just not feasible. So, things like you go out to eat and you leave $10 on the table as a tip for the waitress. Well, there's no record of that. It's a cash transaction, and it's up to the waitress to be honest and report it as income. They may or they may not. You can't do anything about it. The second answer to this question, though, if you have no record and you don't remember what you paid, okay? Let's say that you went to a card show and you bought a Modern Horizons 2 regular version Scalding Tarn, and you bought it about a month ago. Well, you don't remember exactly what you paid because it was in cash, and you bought 15 other cards that day, and you sold some cards, and so you just don't remember. You honestly do not remember. Well, what I would recommend you do is you go to TCG Player and you say, well, looking back at the history, or maybe mtgstocks.com is another good site. Look back in the history of sales in that time period. See what the card was going for, because you probably paid pretty close to that. If it was a Scalding Tarn, just a regular modern frame version a month ago, it's probably about $27. And so with good faith, you can enter $27 into your spreadsheet, and you can say, I paid probably about $27 for that. And the reality is, the IRS then has to accept that as reality, because that's what you said. And again, a lot of transactions have no record except for what you claim in your own accounting. And again, as always, be honest, make a good faith effort to not cheat, because when people get greedy and they start cheating and they cheat more and more, That's when they get caught, they get in trouble. And it's good advice for accounting with the IRS, but it's also just generally good advice for life. And remember, the IRS understands that there's never just a little bit of fraud when they find some fraud. So if you're doing stuff under the table that you shouldn't be doing, and you get caught with your hand just barely in the cookie jar, the IRS is going to know you probably had your hand in there a lot deeper earlier on, and they will look a lot harder trying to find it, which at the very least makes your life a lot more miserable. So be honest, to make good faith effort to account. And of course, a lot of this is overcome by events if you just diligently use spreadsheets like the ones I've shown here to track your purchases, your expenses, your sales, your mileage, all these other things. And that will help you out a lot when it comes to tax time for competently filling out your tax forms in a way that does not arouse suspicion, because you are in fact doing things honestly. Let me know what you think. If you have more questions, I love them. Keep them coming. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade. I love having you all with me. Thanks a lot.